All right, for those of you watching this episode on video in the coop, you will notice that we are not in the normal podcast studio. We're actually filming this on location at the RE Source headquarters with Ryan Hills. So this is our first one that we're filming outside of the studio, and you guys have set this up.
It looks like home, doesn't it?
Beautiful. It feels actually a little bit better than home. It's really well done.
Yeah,
so,
and why am I nervous in my own home?
This is the funniest thing. So Ryan is so nervous about this conversation, and I don't know that I know many people as stoic as you.
Stoic?
You're stoic. Like you've always kind of been this, I don't know if enigma is the right word, but you present on video, you're a leader in the mortgage industry, but also I don't see you sharing a ton and being super vulnerable all the time.
Bill Hart said that too.
Oh, really?
That's funny.
We had him on the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, it's because it's spot on, I think. And we're going to get into it a little bit, but I think that's why you're nervous, because this is not something, first of all, you're doing the interviewing usually.
Yeah. It's like the camera's flipped, around, it seems like.
Uh-huh. And so this is kind of fun to watch, actually. I'm loving watching you squirm. Avery and I last night, she's like, do you think you're going to be able to break Ryan Hills? And I'm like, I don't know. Carson says he thinks we can, but we'll see.
Oh, geez, you talked to him about it?
Of course we talked to him about it. We do our homework here.
So what do you, so since Bell said it, what do you mean? Like, what's your perspective that I don't share?
You, Holmes.
Well, why do you say that about me, that I don't share a lot?
I remember, okay, so I met you 10 years ago. No, sorry, 2010, I think is when you and I met. And I remember at the time, we were both doing video. I met you and RC at the event. Brian Stevens was there.
Mm-hmm.
Annie
Havlin.
Yeah, she was there.
Yep.
And then
Carl White was there.
Oh, that's right.
Yep.
Yeah. So we talked video, and I was like, you guys are doing video, and you guys are like, you guys are doing video. And so then we kind of stayed connected from there. But I just remember there was this, I'm going to say, toughness to you.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I remember. I mean, RC's like, what's up, buddy?
Yeah.
Like, he's just friends with everybody and like loves everybody. And you were kind of the more stoic, like standing back. And I don't know, kind of like you told me, in fact, I asked you, I'll never forget. I'm like, so tell me about the Ryan Stacey Hills on Facebook. Like, why are you Ryan Stacey Hills instead of having Ryan Hills and Stacey Hills? And you were like, yeah, it's just some things, and we're just different. And we do that.
Is this the first time you met me? That's what you asked?
Like, well, yeah. And I was like, what, is he in a cult? Like, what is happening right now that you wouldn't talk about it? But you were just very much kind of locked up a little bit. Like, you didn't want to really open that door. So let's dive into like a little bit of your past and kind of how you got to where you are today. Starting in, you were an Oregonian.
Yeah, Medford.
Were you born there?
Yep.
And how long did you live there?
Not very long. I was there probably till because I moved up to Olympia. It's like Washington's version of Medford.
Oh my gosh. We're leaving that in.
Yeah. Probably I was in Medford just for a few years.
Okay.
Yeah.
A few years, like up to, so you did
grade
like
school,
the beginning
maybe.
of grade school. Yeah. And then you moved up. So specifically, I know you can't remember, but like second, third, fourth grade, those are tough times to leave a place and go uproot and then go make new friends.
Yep.
For kids that are in a school, when the new kid comes in, the new kid's either somebody who's like going to be the coolest person because none of the girls have flirted with him yet or whatever, or it's going to be a tough thing where now we're fighting when we first land. So what was when you came up to Olympia out of Medford, did you just blend in?
I didn't no girls flirted with me, so I don't have to worry about that.
Were you kind of?
I was short and had buck teeth. They called me Bucky.
What?
Actually. Yeah, buck teeth. And I think I just like blended in the background.
You were short and had buck teeth.
Yeah, I was super short, buck teeth. Don't remember having a ton of friends. Like, I just think I just like went to school. I was there. Mm-hmm. Like, you probably just like blended in the background of like the school pictures that you would do, mm-hmm. where everybody like sat in a
You were
row.
the one in the back.
Yeah. So that was Woodland Elementary.
Okay.
Back in Lacey and Olympia that I was in. And so
how long did you live there?
Till I was in 5th grade.
Oh.
And then I moved up here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually when I first met Stacy.
What?
Yeah, my wife in the 5th grade. Because my first good friend was Brian, her brother.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, his sister's cute.
Oh my gosh.
So we dated in the 5th grade.
Okay.
Yeah. And
totally normal for those of us our age. That was very normal to be dating in 5th grade.
yeah.
Yeah.
I broke up with her, true story, because she wouldn't French kiss me.
What?
She'd only do like the closed mouth kiss.
And that's why
I
you
was
broke
like,
up.
Man, what's up, man? And so yeah, I broke up with her. And then
Oh my gosh.
we may have dated on or off, but then she moved to other side of town, so I didn't see her till high school. And from 5th grade to high school, like she obviously became a different person and developed and looked way hotter. So
She started French kissing.
yeah. She was.
What were your teeth still the same?
No, I had braces, so they were
Okay.
they were fixed. Yeah, and then high school sweethearts. And
Wow.
24 years later, still married.
No way. So I want to get into this Bucky thing a little bit.
Bucky.
So Medford, you remember being kind of picked on, not the coolest kid in Medford.
Yeah.
And then when did you get your braces?
When I moved up here, probably in grade school.
Okay. So
Like
you
6th,
still
7th
had
grade.
that going on in Olympia. So who were your friends if they weren't at school?
I don't remember having a ton of friends back in Olympia. I remember I played like baseball and stuff, and I was, I don't know if I was good or not, but I remember like players there that I played with, but didn't have a ton of friends back in Olympia. Like me and my brother fought like 24/7. So like I hung out with him and we fished like ditches, like for tadpoles and stuff like that, but didn't have a ton of friends like from, I don't know, I guess grade school.
Is he older or younger than you?
My brother's older. He's 3 years older and beat the crap out of me for most of my
Really?
life. Yeah.
Like physically
Yeah.
beat the crap out of you?
Yeah. We fought so bad, really bad. And now we're great friends. Like we fish together, we do a lot. We hang out with the wives together, but hated each other growing up, me and my brother.
Really?
But also gave me probably the edge that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
He gave me that edge, and he made me a better athlete. So I was a good athlete. Now I'm just an old washed up dude. Because I was a 6th grader playing a 9th grader.
Right.
So throughout all of high school, like he made me better because I would just get my ass kicked by somebody better than me. But it kept pushing me to be better and like never give up. And so I actually appreciate it now. At the time I hated it because I lost at everything and he beat me at everything, but it also kind of made me the competitive guy, which RC knows, and the people that know me like know how competitive I am. You can thank my brother for that.
Wow. Did your parents know?
Oh yeah. He wasn't the nice brother that would let me win either. Like I had to take that if I was going to get it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you talked to your parents about that? That, how it was to be a parent of 2 kids where, there's that much back and forth. And I'm asking because my brother's 18 months older than me. So you're hitting on some things, but
That you did to him?
No, he's 18 months older than I
Oh,
am.
older. Sorry.
Yeah. So I was a little brother. So have you talked to your parents about what that was like, or have you gone back at all and thought through the impact that had?
They knew we fought. I mean, we talk about it and they just, it's like, oh, it's just brothers being brothers. Yeah, they know. I mean,
so you wanted to beat him.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I remember I finally, like when now I'm bigger than him in about 11th, 12th grade. I like surpassed him and got bigger than him and was able to beat him and stuff. And he didn't like it. So,
wow.
But I remember that and I was like, oh yeah, I got you now, man. I got you now.
Oh my gosh. How has that affected relationships you've had with other, like even people in business? Where have you put that on other people where you kind of see people as, okay, I'm going to beat that guy like I always wanted to beat my brother growing up? Or, does it show up?
Yeah, I'm sure it does subconsciously or maybe even consciously. I mean, I still take pride in that today where that exact scenario, I go, look, I don't care who's to the left or right of me. I'm just going to outwork him. I'm going to beat him.
Wow.
I don't care who it is. So yeah, it definitely drives me today. And we're in one of the worst times in the industry right now.
Yeah.
And Casey and I joke like, we must be psychos because we're excited. Because like, oh, it's tough now. Like, let's go. Let's go. Let's roll up our sleeves. Let's fight it out and let's figure out who's going to win. I know I'm not giving up, So I think again, back to like, everybody's got an origin story on where stuff comes from. And certainly that competitive edge comes from there, and just, you can punch me 1,000 times, I'm just going to get back up, and eventually I'll figure out how to work around it.
Wow.
Or get past it, you know.
You've pulled the positive out of it. Like you learn to scrap.
It's not all positive, I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure, you know, everything should come in balance, but I'd be interested to hear my friends' take on how crazy competitive I am. And
was your brother one of those who he could touch you, but nobody else was allowed to mess with you? Or it's, as far as at school, having a brother that much older feels like you might've had somebody who could back you and where nobody would mess with you because he would protect you? Or was he just kind of like,
no, because he was old enough that I didn't have, like, he wasn't in the same school. So
okay.
By the time I got in junior high, he was in high school. By the time I got into high school, he had graduated. So I didn't have, like, I never got that older brother protective mode that I think maybe some have had. And I had a sister, but she's not going to stick up for you. So
why? She's not a scrapper.
We got along great, but she's not going to fight for me, you know, in high school.
Where do they live now?
Here.
Okay,
yeah, right down the street. Yeah. And Amy moved to Oregon recently.
Oh, okay.
Down by you.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So you get up here, you meet Stacy. Life seems to be going better for you. Normal high school experience?
Yeah. Skipped a lot.
Skipped a lot of high school?
Had a Saturday school a lot. Hated school. Wasn't a good student.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you remember your GPA?
Awful.
Was
No,
it really?
I don't. No, I didn't take it. Like, I love learning now, which is weird because you know, you and I connect because we're nerds on things, and we'll read like guidelines, or you read laws and stuff. And I like it. Like, I like to learn something I've never learned before. You know, back then I was like, this is retarded. I don't want to be here. I skipped half of it. I remember, like, at the senior year, they're like, dude, if you don't, like, at least get a D, this is how low the expectations were in my last class. Like, if you don't get a D in this class, you're not going to graduate. I'm like, that seems hard.
Getting a D.
I'm not sure I can get a D.
I have to show up for class to get that.
What the heck, man? Yeah. And I don't think I got it, honestly. I think they just push this kid along, man.
Really?
Yeah.
So you didn't go to UW your first year?
No, I mean, we didn't grow up like poor, but like college was not an option. Like, it wasn't thought about or talked about as, hey, you're going to go do this college thing, which was, you know, why I was so excited to give Carson that ability and Cameron too, because we just didn't grow up with a lot of money.
So you didn't go to college?
No, I went to, like, you know, the local community college. And then I went to Bible college, actually. Most people don't know that.
Where was that?
Here, you know, through, you know, we've talked like about master's commission and stuff, and did that while I was full-time work and going to college and running a youth group. It was a lot.
Wow.
It almost killed me. But that didn't work out. That was actually the fork in the road that got me into mortgage.
Really?
Yeah.
What was the big moment for you when you're like, this isn't going to be a thing?
Super tough moment because I was going to Bible college. I was running the youth group of Stacy, and I was working full time. So I'd have to work, come home and study, take tests, you know, write papers, write a sermon, plan a, you know, youth group, getaway, camp trip. And our marriage was actually suffering because it's like, which is weird when you're like giving back to the community, like in service and ministry. Yeah, like everything costs something. And it, you know, if you're going to work and doing college and, you know, ministries and running a youth group, guess what's not being focused on? Your marriage. So it sucks that you're like, I'm doing these good things over here, but it comes from somewhere. The time and energy came from somewhere, and it came from Stacy and I. So it was like one of the first times it almost like wrecked us.
Wow.
And usually wrecking a marriage looks way more sinister.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
You cheated on somebody.
Like too much church.
Yeah.
Too much church.
Yeah, right. Like nobody ever says I had too much church and that wrecked my marriage.
Right.
But I knew, okay, so this isn't working. I can't do all of this. So I'm either going to quit, and I had a pretty good job. Like, we had bought a house. We had 2 nice cars. It wasn't this job, but it was a pretty good job. So I had to quit that and go all into ministry, or quit ministry and like go find a career. I chose like, hey, I really feel like this is where I'm called to. I'm going to quit work and go all in. And I don't like, now I'm so like surprised I did this, but not worry about money. I'm just going to trust that whatever happens, and the Lord will provide. So in my head, and think about the decision you're making. That is not a decision for today. That is a decision in perpetuity for the rest of your life. Oh, yeah. Ministry, if you don't know, is like not a profitable thing typically for.
Not unless you're on TV.
Not unless you're mega church.
Little sketch.
Yeah. But you're going to move around the country for the rest of your life. You're going to make whatever you make, which is not great money. And I had made that decision for then and for the rest of my life. Like, I'm okay with that. So what was weird is I made the decision, but then I went and told the church, like, hey, I've made the decision. I'm going to quit, go all in with ministry. They were helping me pay for, like, they were cultivating, their bench, so to speak. They were helping me pay for college too. So it would make sense, like, oh, that's really cool. You're going to sacrifice your professional life and career, give it to ministry. Let's roll. And I remember I went and felt great about the decision, and then told the head pastor, and he was a new head pastor. So we didn't really have a relationship yet. But for some reason, going into that meeting, I never thought like there was ever going to be a path of anything but what I was walking in there to do.
Sure.
Give up my professional life and my family's life, and commit to the ministry.
Well, you wouldn't think you'd say, I'm going to sacrifice everything, have somebody go, nah, don't sacrifice. Like, it's not like you're going in there asking for a huge paycheck.
No, I'm not. Yeah, exactly. It's the opposite of that. You're saying, I know that I'm not going to make
giving
a
up paychecks.
Yeah. And I'll never forget, because he like sat back and like laughed, like scoffed at
what?
At like like it's an offering, essentially. Like, I was like, this dude just laughed at me. And I was like, what in the world was that about? So he laughed, and it was like, I don't think I heard any of the words after that. And even if I did, my memory's not good enough to tell you what he said. But the end result was like no, like you can't come here. You're like, you can't. I took it as like, you're not good enough or whatever it was, but it's like, you can't, we're going to go a different direction. I think that's actually probably what his words were. We're going to go a different direction. So I was like, what in the world? Like, you immediately, like I did, I think most people probably were like, all right, God, what was that? What was up with that? Right. Like, this is what I read I was supposed to do. Like, you said to do these things. I'm doing these things. I'm giving up these things. And the door slammed shut, and you're like, okay, that was like super hard. A lot of resentment.
Yeah. For
a lot of years towards God and like the church and stuff. Wow. I haven't shared this a lot, so it's kind of weird.
Does the little fighter, from Medford and from Olympia, does that little fighter in you kind of pop up, and I'm going to have to scrap again? Were you
not
mad
then
at him? Or
not then,
just,
dude.
like,
I was
confused?
freaking cut down. There was no fight. Wow. I would love to say, yeah, like fighter in me showed up then, and later in life, fighter shows up, but not then. I was just devastated. Like, I mean, how can you not? You're a young guy, young, father, young leader. We had a great youth group. We loved the kids. I mean, that's what attracted me to ministry. It wasn't so much the religion. No offense to anybody that, it wasn't the religion side of things. It was like, these kids are in need, and I want to help them. A lot of them didn't have a father, didn't have a mother, or had husband, or had fathers and mothers, but weren't there. They were absent. Yeah. And I'm just like, who's going to help them? If it's not Stacy and I, who's going to help them? They're never going to have a shot at life. And so that was what attracted me. It wasn't so much, the scripture, which is obviously a part of it, but it was just like, there's a need there. I want to help. And I felt like that help was like rejected. And like, you weren't good enough your sacrifice wasn't good enough, which is still a trip. Like, when you think about it, like somebody comes over and says, hey, Ken, I want to work for your company, and I don't care what you pay me. Right. And I'm going to commit to you for my professional life. Like,
well, I'm equating it in my head to Guatemala for me. If I was to go, because I go to Guatemala a lot, and if they were like, hey, by the way, just don't come back.
Yeah.
I'd be like, wait, what? I've brought so many people down there. Like, we love these kids. These kids need me. I'm filling a spot where that would be devastating.
Yeah.
It would just be, I'd be so confused. I'd be like, but I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing this for everybody that I'm impacting. And now you're saying I can't impact kids.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. And the relationship. So it's like a sever with all the relationships, all these kids, all of these kids.
Were you out of the youth group at that point? Like,
No, I was still running it, and I was saying I'm going to go.
I mean,
on
after
it.
that meeting.
After that meeting, it was like, oh, the door's been completely shut. Like, how do you go tell your kids that you have brother type, father type, Stacy mother type relationships
Right.
with like, where there's not a home for us here anymore?
What did
go over
Stacy
well.
say when you went home? Was she like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Like, say it again. No, okay, say it again because I must not have heard it.
Yeah.
That had to be confusing for
Yeah.
her
And
too.
and then you got to make a different decision.
Mm-hmm.
Like the door's not open for you here, even though you've offered.
Did she feel the rejection as well at the time?
For sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, she's got, I mean, that's what, I mean, you've grown up in ministry, like
Yeah.
having a good, male and female figure
Mm-hmm.
to reach both is important.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yes, I mean, she's essentially a female pastor, right? Like
Mhm.
to all the young girls there. So
Mhm.
she had deep relationships with them. They would
Wow.
hang out at her house.
Yeah.
We'd go travel with them, and we knew all their struggles. So it was completely difficult. Imagine their perspective too. Like they have great relationships with somebody, and then the next day, like, oh, they're gone. So
Mm-hmm.
it was awful, dude. And yeah, the finder didn't show up. I was probably down on the mat, so to speak, for a
Mhm.
while. But you're back to your question, like, how did you get here? Well, it was kind of like, well, by default, I was going left, and that got shut down. So what else am I going to do now? And in my head, I already quit my other job, even though technically I didn't. But I'm like,
Mhm.
that was severed. I'm not going back to that.
Mhm.
I'd already moved past that. So I've got to do something else.
Mhm.
I'd love to say I went to school for it. I'd love to say it was my first choice. It was my first love, but mortgage was the backup after being told, no, your sacrifice is not good enough.
Oh, I imagine you're just walking down this path that you feel like was perfectly paved for you, and the birds are singing, and the trees are beautiful, and the sun is just right there, and then all of a sudden it's just like a record skip. I guess this isn't the thing, and now I got to figure something out.
Yeah, it's the opposite. Like picture a somber song and like me dragging my feet, and like,
Yeah.
super bummed about. And that probably went on for the first year or two in the mortgage business, because still wondering, like, still questioning, like, what the heck just happened?
Yeah.
Why, God, why is that? Why did you shut that door?
So your heart wasn't in it in mortgage when you first got in. You're
No.
just like, wait, I'm doing this, but
No, not
this
at all.
isn't where I was supposed to be.
No. All enough, I had a good year. The first year in the business, I
Mhm.
reached President's Club
Oh, wow. What year was that?
in 2004 or 5.
Okay.
It's all connected, because I had so many relationships in the church. They knew and trusted me.
Oh, yeah.
So if they were going to work with somebody, it's like, well, I've known Hills forever. So their relationships actually carried, like it was usually their parents that were buying houses
Mhm.
and stuff. But
I wonder if there were some guilt closings where people were like, we're going to just use him because we feel so bad about what we did to him.
probably, now looking back, I didn't think about it till
You've
now.
done the
But thank
pastor's
you.
loan, then his refi.
Yeah, we kicked this guy basically out, so we should probably give him a loan or something. That's so bad.
Did you leave the church, that church?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
And so
Left-
now you're just out in the wilderness doing
Yeah.
loans, but
My 40 years wandering the wilderness, type.
yeah.
And we did for a while, like, what's next?
Were
No.
people reaching out like, what just happened?
No,
Nobody did?
I feel like it was like in a silo for Stacy and I.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's,
But, brings you closer.
oh,
When
totally.
you're struggling through stuff and having to make decisions that you don't know are the right ones. And,
Mhm.
you're like, you're walking in faith together.
Mhm.
You're not walking in faith with the church at the
Right.
moment, but walking in faith somewhere else,
Right.
so.
But you're on your own at that point.
Mhm.
You're like, I guess we're just out here. And
Yeah.
you're still in the same city. So it's not like you guys moved to another city and it didn't, this
No.
is just, I'm still right here. And
No. Yeah. And the next church didn't last very long, and, kind of wandered a couple different churches after that. So, yeah, that's how I actually got in the business,
dang.
is being told no in
Yeah.
ministry.
So you get in, you do pretty well right out the gate in the mortgage industry. You're rocking President's Club first year. You're still feeling like this isn't where you're supposed to be. Do you remember at what point did you just go, okay, this is me now, or this is my world?
It's a good question. I don't know. There were things that like crossed over.
Mm-hmm.
You've like had to speak in front of people, right? Like you do, but like in church, you have to prepare a message. If you're teaching a youth group or if you're like a lead pastor, right? You've got to understand it well enough that you can communicate it in a short amount of time in a succinct way, right? Well, guess what else you got to do in mortgage if you're going to jump in front of video? So little things like that over the years, my resentment towards God or something, whoever, everybody involved started to wane because it's like, oh, maybe there are redeeming, maybe there's something else for me. And maybe my strengths that God gave me over here are actually for over here. And I'm not like, dude, I would love to tell you 15, 20 years later that I know I have so much clarity that I know this is exactly how it's supposed to go down. I can't, like, I don't want to lie to you. I don't know. But there are strengths that I learned there that crossed over here that have helped me. Integrity. I remember when I finally got my first shot at being a leader, integrity was paramount because we had the number one crook down the street that went to jail, who was stealing all of our business. All of our business this guy was doing hundreds of, I think he did $1 billion before anybody knew $1 billion was a thing.
Oh my gosh.
Early 2000s.
The guy who had trash bags full of cash.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, there's crazy stories, but imagine being literally a stone's throw from that, and every builder and realtor that you want to court is going across the street because that person doesn't have an integrity. So when I get my first opportunity to lead in this city, it was like, we're going to do it with integrity. We're going to show them that you can do this business with integrity and you don't have to make your own W-2s and create your own jobs. And that still furthers me today. Like we're going to do it better than everybody else. And better doesn't necessarily mean volume. It can, but it can mean just with more integrity. So again, that was part of a difficult path that I walked, but now, a bit more redeeming over here. That I would have never maybe had I not walked through the tough time in ministry.
Yeah, it's you have to watch my Friday update video now that we released like 30 minutes ago. And the video I did today is the bad guys get to win. And so it's all about, people say, it's good that all these people are getting out of the business because we're getting the riffraff out. And it's like, no, the riffraff are still here because there's bad guys right now. And then the trick is to be the best good guy ever. So you become the good guy, you're going to lose deals to these people that are willing to cheat. And so you have to be able to educate people enough to know, hey, that's not okay. And this is what ethical lending looks like. So it's funny you bring that up right after I shot and we released that video.
Integrity is easy until it's challenged.
Yeah.
Until you lose deals, until you can't pay your bills because somebody else that doesn't have integrity is taking it. So do you maintain your integrity? Integrity is easy in a silo. Oh, totally. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Integrity is difficult when you're traveling and nobody's around and you can cheat on your wife or, you know what I mean? Like, but that's when integrity shows up, when nobody else is looking to me.
So all of that you had built up, you got to carry those skills in.
Yeah. Those lessons, everything that was instilled in church obviously came over. And again, like I wish I could say 20 years later, like that was God ordained and that was the exact path. And maybe it is. And I don't know enough. I'm not far enough down the story. Right. I'm not far enough to remove to go, hey, dummy. Yes, of course, this was all orchestrated.
Okay. That's hilarious that you say that because you have created one of the best careers in the mortgage industry of anybody I know. You're the top of the list of the best careers in the industry, not just in things you've done, but in lives impacted. And so for you to say, I mean, we'll find out later when I'm good enough is really interesting.
Thanks for saying, I don't know if that's true, but
it is. You don't get to say it's not. This is my truth.
Yeah.
No, but I've watched you do this and that statement is just like, yeah, we'll see. I don't want to get too deep into this, but I don't know if you know that I was going for my master's in theology and I was going into ministry when everything fell apart and I started doing loans. So I'm listening to you going, oh my gosh, like there it is. My story's different, but it's that same, like, I guess I'll do something else. And then the worship pastor I'm playing drums for is like, dude, I'm entitled. You should get into mortgage. And I'm like, I guess I'm going to do that now. And like, just that kind of fallout from there.
Yeah.
It's a big deal, but you're saying, we'll see. Let's talk about the way you impact people, because that was a big thing for me is I just wanted to stand on stages and impact people. And guess what I do for a living?
Yeah.
And you wanted to impact people and change lives and help those that are underserved. And you're doing it not just in mortgage, but you're doing it, I mean, on video in such a big way. So you basically preach on camera, just not about Ecclesiastes. You're teaching.
I've never thought about it that way, actually, until you just said that.
You honed it. I mean, you already have the skills. And then you're like, let me raise up a generation of leaders and people in the industry that want to do things right.
That's crazy.
So you still have that job. It's just a different people in the pews.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't see it that way at all.
Really?
Yeah. It wasn't my intention. Like I didn't go into it and go, well, I got shut down in this ministry, so let me go start a different one.
But it doesn't have to. I mean,
You know what I mean?
the fact that it's not your intention is actually, it makes it more authentic because all you do is what your heart tells you to do. And your heart led you to video, which when did you start doing video?
After the Great Recession, so probably 2008, 2009.
So just a few years after the whole thing happens at church, you're already back on camera wanting to change lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whose idea was doing video originally?
I think RC and I together, because we were together during the recession, and it was painful for all the reasons you know.
Mm-hmm.
We were just like, we've got to do something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was slow, and it was, you know, people were losing jobs and people were raiding 401ks, and you know, it was a bad time. So we were like, we've got to figure out a way to survive. Like I told you, like back to, I'm not going to die. I'm going to figure out a way to fight my brother and win.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to figure out a way to fight the recession and win. Like there's no reason I should have made it out of the Great Recession. I got into it 04, 05, only had a few years, and nobody really taught me the business. It was just like, here's a phone, here's a phone book, figure it out. Like I didn't have great leadership to teach me how to build a business, run a business. So the deck was completely stacked against me. There's no reason I should have made it out of there. It's kind of like, I guess, encouraging if you just got in the business in 19 or 20 and now we're in 23 and you're probably feeling the same. Like there's no reason, there's no way I should make it through this downturn. I felt the same way, and I wasn't willing to give up. So I was like, okay, well, what are we going to do? And I think we were watching our friends, Frank and Brian at the time, and they had a pretty big show. I think it was called Think Big, Work Small back then. And I'm like, okay, well, let's give that a shot. Again, I didn't have the foresight to go, my skills that I had learned of speaking in front of a group of people will translate on camera. I had no idea. Like, I don't know why, you know, now looking back, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like you learn to talk in front of people. This is actually easier. You're on camera, you can mess up and start over. So we were just like, let's give it a shot. RC was going to die and I was going to die professionally. Like that was what was at stake. If we didn't do something different together, we were going to professionally and die. And I'm on to my third thing. You know, the first one didn't work out. They kicked me out. You know, second thing, mortgage, that would have sucked if that didn't work, but I wasn't willing to. I guess that's where the fighter shows up.
Right.
First is like, all right, I'm going to fight. And so we just started this thing, and you can go back and watch them now. They're awful. Completely awful.
They weren't, well, no, compared to what else was out there, it was like right there.
It felt cutting edge.
Pretty, yeah.
But it was, I feel like we had like a flip phone, and that's what we recorded on, and no mics for years.
Oh,
literally no mics for years.
I love going back there, and I'll see like the fuzziness in the bottom left because I didn't key out the green Walmart sheet that I had bought.
You
I
can
literally
see all
got
the green
Walmart
around.
sheets. Yeah, they're still out there.
Yes.
But you jumped in and started doing it. So I wonder how much of that was like, okay, I lost at my last thing. I don't want to lose at this thing.
Probably sheer desperation. Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
And being an older husband now with more responsibility and more risk, like Bill Hart, like all in, like, again, I'm not going to lose. So I got to fight. So, yeah, I mean, out of necessity, like you've got to go do something. And for anybody, like we're 15, 20 years later in the video, and everybody loves the microwave success story in America. That wasn't like that for us. I mean, we did it for years, every week until we got a deal from a single deal. Like we door knocked. We door knocked people to watch the show. Essentially, it was like we would go door knock. Oh, you're having a team meeting? Can we share our video at your team meeting?
Wow.
Go to title and escrow people. Hey, would you watch this thing? And we literally go hit play. And they kind of roll their eyes, but that's how we grassroots this thing.
Okay. I want to talk about a specific video you did, because you were doing videos every Monday, right? And
Yeah.
Monday back then?
Yeah, still we shoot on Friday.
Yeah.
And they're released every Monday. We just
So I hope we can talk about this, but you're doing videos every Monday. There it is. There it is. There it is. You did a video that caused a problem for your company.
You're talking about the builder video?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So I'll never forget, because this was the moment I feel like our relationship took a turn.
Nothing off limits.
Yeah. You did a video that got you hated.
By my own company.
Yeah.
By my owners.
Yeah. And by people you were close with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So first of all, did you know that was a challenge video when you put it out? Did you think about that, or you just...
Yeah, I knew it was going to ruffle feathers. I mean, I
Mhm.
worked for a builder. You know, we were the lender for the builder, but we were owned by a nationwide builder.
Mm-hmm.
And the premise of the video, I wonder if we go back and watch it, find it. I think that's actually the first show I ever pulled. I'll have to remember.
That's
You can help
right.
me because you were
Yeah.
part of this.
Mm-hmm.
So I shot a video, and still today this exists, about how borrowers were forced to use the builder lender.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't feel like that was okay. I feel like
Mhm.
that didn't give the borrower choices.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't like that, and I wanted to shed light on that. And at this time, our show had gained influence, and so I was like, "Hey, I feel the responsibility of influence.
Mm-hmm.
Let's put some, shed some light on this thing." While working for a builder, which wasn't the smartest idea.
Right.
I knew, I was like, they're probably gonna not like it, but it's all right.
Because you needed that message to get out. You weren't pulling back the message because it might hurt feelings or it might cause feathers.
I wanted to get it corrected. And it's
Mhm.
still like that today,
Yeah.
where they can essentially force you into using that builder lender. Maybe it's a little bit better today, but I wanted to shed light on it to get it corrected.
Mhm.
And I knew we had influence, and this is about videos. Sometimes you don't know who, you may not have had 1 million views, but you may have had one super influential view, an owner, NBA president, you know what I mean? Like that happens a lot. And so sure as you know what, like the owner of this nationwide $1 billion company watched it and basically got, furious for same reasons I probably would be too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this guy works for us and he's throwing stones at us. Like, does he not know who pays his, writes his check? So I'm pretty sure he put a hit out that was like, hey, this guy shouldn't be here. And now I'm a lowly LO at this time. Maybe have some influence in the industry, but it was like, it shouldn't have been a hard order to execute. Like, go fire that kid tomorrow, today, and we'll be done with it. And the president and I had a good relationship. So I feel like he probably stopped the hatchet from coming down, but he also said, hey dude, you messed up. And so you got some pretty powerful people mad at you, and you need to fix it. Essentially, it was what was said. So I didn't like that call. Looking back, talking about it with you now, he probably saved my job.
Mm-hmm.
I bet you anything that was his, directive is to, in my career there. So that was the first show. And I think we've only pulled 2 shows ever. That was the first show I pulled. I didn't feel good about it. I think I called you.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I had abandoned my ethics. Like, hey, I felt strongly about this, and professionally, to save my career, I needed to pull it. And you ended up kind of like speaking into that to me and gave, encouraged me and gave me like some really, really solid words of wisdom. And we ended up coming back and shooting what I felt like was a more impactful, influential video.
It's still my favorite video
than the
you've
one
ever
we
done.
shot.
Yeah, it's still my favorite video because you rocked that. It was the one where you were authentically you, and you weren't, delivering the message that you wanted to get out there. You were just kind of like almost coming in with this humility of, I'm just a human.
Yeah.
Here's what I was trying to do. And it was such a great video just for everybody that ever does video to see that, kind of the reactions, and then your response to the reaction being just laying your heart out there for people to see.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm looking back, like, why didn't the fighter come out? The humility came out in that video. Like it just kind of like you said, kind of stripped down and like, this is who I am, and this is how I felt, and this is how I felt about that scenario. And I think that's probably what you get with me. Like you're going to get a fighter, or, you know, you're going to get somebody that's super quiet and humble, and the humility in that. And I, you know, knew why they were mad. I had to own that. Like I'm still with this family this professional family that still has me. And now I'm probably the step kid in the family. And so you still feel a certain type of way about that. I'm like, okay, well, I'm still employed, but these guys don't really like me anymore.
Right.
I just threw stones at them, you know? So you're dealing with those feelings, and you're dealing with the feelings of, I'm passionate about the subject. I put it out, and now I got to take it back. And now I got to come back and be humble about it. Like there's a lot going on there.
Oh yeah. Did I back off when I should have just, you know, leaned into
Did I abandon my ethics in that moment?
Yeah.
You know, or my fraud?
Wow.
My fraud. Did I say this thing and then pull it? You know, that's not.
Did you ever put it back up, or has it been, it's out still? Or I mean, it's down still?
No, I think we just moved on from there and fast forward to 23 and we still got that problem today.
Oh my gosh. How much hate do you get? Like, it's a struggle for me. I deal with it sometimes where you see some comment and you're like, are you serious? Like,
yeah, there's a lot of, you know, haters and comments that, and you always remember the bad ones, but honestly, the industry's been so supportive of us, and they send nice messages. And we talked about it on the show today. Like one of the coolest things, and dumb me, we should probably monetize the show a lot more than we do, but we don't. But one of the things that, you know, mean the most to us and feels like monetization is when an owner or a regional CEO calls or texts and says, hey, we love that show. And we just send it out to our entire company. There's 3,000 people in our company. So there has certainly been hate, especially when we started. I remember when they made fun of us when we took over, like we used to sub for Frank and Brian.
Yeah.
They would make fun of us, and, you know, you're going to get that. The more you put yourself out there, you know how it is. I mean, you're out there traveling, you're going to get supporters and haters, but the industry's been so supportive. And so I love the industry. It's tough right now in the industry. And I see our friends and our peers, 50% of us are gone. That crushes me. That I see LOs struggling right after the greatest time ever. Like genuinely that makes me mad, and I'm really sad at the same time somehow. I'm mad that they didn't save through the most profitable time ever, and I'm sad that they didn't, and now they've got to make really bad decisions because of that. So I care for the industry a great deal, and they've given, I mean, there's awards back here that they've given us for, you know, content, influence, and if anything, like to answer your question, like I feel nothing but love from the industry. Yeah, there's haters out there, but I try to tune that out. And, you know, RC's built a big career now, you know, and you met Eric earlier. He's making a name for himself. So it's given me, you know, they opened a door when another one was shut. And I oddly enough, I went from, I'm never going to have nice things in my life, and I'm never going to make good money, to having a wonderful career that I'm so thankful for. I love the business, no matter how difficult it gets. You know, they've done nothing but support us, and I'm so thankful for it.
Do you think there's going to be a moment in the future where you say, okay, I did it. You know, I did what I was here to do. This was the right thing. I finished the way, you know, I finished strong. Or do you think you'll always have that, I'm not done yet, I'll never be done mentality?
Probably the latter. I mean, I can't imagine getting to a point where, because every step that we take with the show, with the influence of my own personal career, it's always like, cool. You know, because I'm not motivated by money. Like I showed you that at the start of the story. Like I accepted nothing. So I'm not motivated by money, but I am motivated probably because, you know, my brother and being fought, and a lot of other people in my life that fought against me and told me I wasn't good enough. Like, okay, well, cool. That I got to hear. What's next? Can I do the next thing? You know, I don't know if I can ever become an owner in this business. It's a very difficult place to become an owner. And I mean, it's rarefied air. But I feel like in my head, that's been always like the next step, or a president, you know, but I can't imagine giving it up, man. And even if you got, you know, at our age, we start thinking about what's enough in the bank to retire, and whatever that number is, like, I still feel like I love the business enough that I'm always going to, you know, continue to try to do, you know, the next coolest thing.
All right, one last thing for you. So you're leading in the worst time in the mortgage industry you've had in a long time, some would argue ever. As a leader to other leaders, do you have one piece of advice of like, if you're a leader right now, this is like the thing that keeps you going, or this is the thing that is our role as leaders?
It's a tough question because this market will humble you. So I don't want to like pretend that I know more.
No, totally.
Than other leaders, you know, like, oh, you should do this. Cause I mess up every single day. And I'm trying to figure that out now too, man. Like we have a huge team of LOs and LOAs and processors, underwriters, other leaders. And I'm trying to figure out every day, like what's the best message today? Like yesterday was already, that day was fought. And I think today's like a whole different set of challenges and skills strategies that I need to deploy. It's that bad. Like the comparisons of 2008 to now, you talked about it yesterday in CE. I actually feel like it's worse in many ways. And sure, it's not as bad because you're like, hey,
it's a different bad.
Yeah, it's a different bad. We don't have foreclosures,
you know. It still sucks.
But this has just been a grind. Like 2008 happened overnight, it seemed like.
Yeah.
And then it was bad. This has been 18 months of contraction. Yeah. And just like death by 1,000 paper cuts, and it doesn't seem to be getting better. And so every day is a different set of challenges. So I don't know that I have amazing advice for leaders right now.
Dude, that's better, because here's my summary of this. First of all, this has been an amazing conversation. Thanks for being so.
I feel like it's been boring. You're probably
it's been freaking amazing, dude. I'm diving in and I love it. We're not cutting a thing. But what's interesting to me, and this kind of sums up what people have probably learned about you this whole time, is I just asked you for a tip for leaders. Instead of leaning back and going, well, you know, here's the deal. When you're leaning, blah, 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 blah. You were just like, I'm not there yet either. So I'm just kind of figuring it out. And I think I started this conversation by calling you stoic, and I'm going to end it by calling you one of the most humble men I've ever met in my life. And gosh, I'm going to cry now. I don't make me cry on freaking podcasts. Your humility, I think that's what makes you the person that people count on. I think that's what makes you be able to bring a team together. It's what wakes you up in the morning as you deliver those messages. It's just this humble nature of, I'm here to serve, I'm here to help, which is exactly what you were trained to do before you left that church and moved on. It's been consistent in your life. It's be humble and then help others do the same. So I love that. And I love that was your answer, because it's exactly right, dude. You have stayed humble, you've delivered, and it's worked out really well for you. So, man, I appreciate you taking the time. Was it as scary as you thought it would be?
Yeah.
Will you be thinking about this for the next 2 days? What did I say?
Yes, 100%.
Oh my God.
Yes, 100%.
Dude, well, then
what could I have done better?
We're posting
is what
this
I'm be
the
thinking.
second we get done here.
I'm thinking this is boring. People tuned out minute 1, and what could I have said or done better?
Yeah, I know. We'll get into that on our next podcast episode when I have you back as a guest later. But dude, awesome work, man. Thank you.
Thank you, man. Seriously, your friendship has meant the world to me. And I've been blessed. Again, the show has opened up so many relationships. You know, a lot of our mutual friends that I would have never met, you know, if I didn't work past the fear of getting in front of video and all that stuff. And out of all the people I've met nationwide, like your friendship has been so meaningful for me. Like now we have kids in college together. We joke about arranged marriages.
It's still going to happen.
There's very few genuinely good people in this world, especially in mortgage. It's usually not the predominant thing. So I like your friendships meant the world and has helped me. I know RC would say the same thing because he's known you for just as long. Like you've helped us tremendously more than you ever known. So I appreciate you, man. And thank you. Thank you for everything.
Thank you.